Hello again, everyone, and welcome to our 5-minute webinar series, where we try to give you some valuable information on top trends and insights into security workforce management in about 5 minutes. So in our last video, we tackled armed versus unarmed security guards. Today, we're going to be looking at government contracting and how this sector differs from the commercial sector. So as always, we provide a little bit of background here on our analysis, and with that, we decided to take a look at the posts and shifts across the physical security industry back in December 2019. We felt it provided a good sample set for our analysis. It combined both normal volumes as well as increased volumes. So within that time period, we analyzed about 200 guard firms across 500 divisions, managing 12,000 unique clients. Now, within that group, we looked at over 83,000 security officers who are working over 2 million shifts. So within that set of data, we were able to review and analyze pay rate and bill rates. Now, it's important to understand that this data that we have here is aggregated. It's anonymized and generalized to ensure privacy and security. Now, today we're going to be looking at these rates for government contractors. So a quick primer on GovCon. Now, the essentials to this is that the government is going to provide contracts to private security firms to work certain facilities and locations, providing deterrence, safety, or security. And it really does vary. It goes from libraries to war zones to everything in between. The work in GovCon typically requires a very specific set of resources and skill sets, with higher paid officers and higher premiums on contracted rates. In the previous pay rate and bill rate curves, we took out GovCon and focused primarily on the commercial sector. So let's take a look at the curves within GovCon. As you can see on this pay scale curve, GovCon is carrying a much higher premium in officer salaries, the median pay here being about $10 higher than a commercial guard. As stated before, you will in fact see, since many GovCon officers were going to have to not only pass background checks and security clearances, but also their skill set and experience warrant a higher pay scale. In terms of the bill rates, well, they're much higher than that of commercial sector. Part of the reason for this is that you have those higher pay rates in general, and you need to make up for those direct costs. But also factored into this is the additional indirect costs associated with government, such as training, security clearances, potential unions, and tax payments. In addition, some of these government contracts require more flexibility for the security firm, such as a dedicated resource or travel operations, higher availability, or even more fluidity in the contract with adding resources and details. All of these need to be baked into the rate to ensure some level of margin to help operations. So I wanted to throw a side-by-side comparison here on the commercial median rates and the GovCon median rates. You can see there's a stark difference, and the reality is that from a margin perspective, it's not much of a major jump. GovCon has a lot of indirect costs that you're going to need to factor in, and the margins are not always better. But what a government contract provides is three things. One is consistency. Government contractors are usually consistent and predictable business. You have a set contract and set schedules that you can rely on that creates for more consistent revenue. Longevity is another one. Government contracts are typically long-term. Even a year-long contract can infuse more predictability within your operation in terms of revenue streams. And the last one's premiums. Government contractors are typically looking for specific training, specific certifications and licenses, and require officers that will command a higher salary rate. That also impacts the bill rate positively. The only con to this is you have to be aware of the margin. While it appears to have a higher bill rate on average, all those indirect costs stack up on these types of contracts. So you have to take the pros and the cons with these programs, and while it's tough to get into a government contract, most companies that have one or more will thrive on the revenue from that contract. So that's all for today in government contracting. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more of these 5-minute videos around pay rate and bill rate report, as well as some other topics in the industry. And again, thank you to TrackForce Valiant and SilverTrack for providing support and solutions for all this type of data. So if you want to actually download the full report, you can actually do that by clicking on the link in our description below. And last but not least, if you like this series and you want to get notified when we release more, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. Thanks again, and have a great day.